Shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, just some social shit for everyone, you know what I'm saying? Like, I made this beat myself, so hear me. I mean, like, we can pull that clown shit away. This some real shit for you. I'm spazzing right now, so listen, let's go. Yeah, it's in their bones, the thugs in harmony for the love of the money. Then fall victim for the cookie, then turn pussy, it's lonely. You said you hold it down when life get rough, we're here now, so show me. We move them losses to them wins. Heavy pounds, we make it ends meet. Converse with only few who make me feel like I be 10 feet.
Yo, what's going on, peeps? We are back with another match preview, and today we're taking a look at Barcelona versus Girona. Yes, Barcelona back in action so soon after their last game, winning 3-0 against Osasuna. Guys, make sure, of course, that you are smashing the like, sharing, and subscribing to the channel. So, obviously, as I said before, Barcelona, of course, having that game in, against Osasuna in that kind of midweek, straight after the internationals, there was a lot of conversation, in and around that and surrounding that, just because, it was so soon after the internationals. Did they want to risk certain players? Should they have even have played the game? But obviously it was a rearranged game, so obviously it kind of made sense, when you actually deep it. But yeah, man, I think, listen, look, 3-0 victory against Osasuna. As I mentioned before, my match preview, make sure you guys, of course, check that out. But yeah, in the match reaction, should I say, sorry, against Osasuna, it was kind of like total domination, really and truly, from Barcelona. A few moments here and there, but nothing that was, ever going to really stress Barcelona, if I'm being, totally honest with you. And I think, heading into this game in itself, I do think that Girona obviously not doing too well in the league this season, if I'm being totally honest with you. I think they're currently sitting, I believe it's like 13th or something like that. So not the same Girona that we remember from last season, but of course they've had a few players, leave the club and stuff like that. And I also just think sometimes with these kind of clubs, it's hard to maintain this kind of level. It's easier to shock you than it is to maintain. And if you're not going to be able to improve and, get better players, in certain areas, certain positions and stuff like that, it's always going to be, relatively difficult. So yeah, I think that was always going to be a thing, for Girona. Obviously, in terms of like Barca news and stuff like that, I think, look, Dani Olmo, of course, picked up an injury against Osasuna. I believe I've read a few things. Some say he's going to be out for quite some time. Some say he's going to be back for the Champions League game against Borussia Dortmund. I don't know. I really don't know. At the time of this video, I don't know when, he's going to be back and available, for Barcelona. But hopefully he's back soon. I think very, very top player, man. And he's definitely someone I feel, we're going to need, especially, for this run into between now and the end of the season, Champions League, the La Liga title, two really, really big, important trophies that I hope Barcelona are going to be able, to pick up. But let's wait and see on that. Obviously, Pedri and Gavi, I think, I spoke about them, in the match reaction. And honestly, man, these two are just amazing players, man. Pedri especially, he's been absolutely phenomenal this season, man. Honestly, in that midfield, he is just, I don't know what the word is to describe him, but he's just the best. You know what I mean? That's probably the best way I could say it. He's probably just the best. What he does on the ball is just, it's amazing stuff. Gavi, still working his way, man. I thought he had a good game though when he did come on, dropping into when he obviously played yesterday and the other evening. And I felt like even in the game, when you looked at it from first half to like second half, dropping into that centre back kind of role, dropping into that DM position, sometimes going out wide, on that left hand kind of flank and, trying to affect play in there, coming into the middle to help out with the midfield and kind of making it a little bit more congested, for Barcelona, but also allowing them to be able to keep the ball, keep possession, winning some of these fouls and stuff like that in order to just break things down for Barcelona. I felt like he played well. He played, relatively well. I felt Fermin as well. I thought he played, pretty, good assist for Lewandowski for the third goal. And he's an interesting player, very, very interesting player, man. Every time I watch him, I'm always like, he's like a neat and tidy kind of guy. I always think, yeah, he can, play behind the striker. Could he do it again? You know what I mean? Because then he can drop out wide at times, even if you have got Lamine Yamal. I feel like with those three, but obviously we'll get into my, my predicted lineup. But Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I look at him and think he's a tidy player. I like him. I like him. I'd love to see, how well he can kind of continue to do, for Barcelona. This is obviously just a predicted lineup for Girona. Yeah, I think when I look at it, Danjuma, of course, Gutierrez, Martinez, in their three-player daily blend in there as well. They've got a few players in there, man, who might be, might cause us, some trouble in the game. Obviously Gutierrez, left back, left mid, whatever you want to kind of call him, or left central midfield, or whatever it is that he's kind of playing there, almost like a wing back, effectively. Really, really good player. I think the positions that he can sometimes take up, this could also be a bit of a issue. I think this is going to be something that Barca are going to need to just keep their eye on. Someone like him loves to get high and wide. So do Barcelona's fullbacks. What does that mean then for space? Are we going to need to get someone like a Pedri or a Gavi or De Jong, someone who's going to just, fill in these spaces when potentially a Koundé or a Balde. Balde, of course, more so than a Koundé, but we're going to need to just be careful. And obviously Gutierrez is playing, more on Koundé's side anyway. I don't know, Martinez as well, right wing back. Again, another really, really good player. Same, really, him and Gutierrez, I feel like they are so similar in what they do, and they provide that width for Girona, in terms of the way that Girona like to play. You can see that in terms of the heat maps of both players here. And I think that's going to be something I saw it quite a bit against Osasuna for Barcelona, is that sometimes, we leave gaps. And if you've got players who want to play in those spaces, that might be a little bit of a problem. Danjuma, I feel like he's such a weird player. Like, he's not done well this season, in my personal opinion. But again, I was more looking at the area, look at the distance between a Danjuma and the rest of the team. He's literally on an island on his own, and the rest of the team are, a lot more closer, to each other. So again, I look at that and I think to myself, I'm just looking at what could potentially hurt Barcelona in games like this. Yes, Barcelona have got the quality of players, they've got the better players, and etc. etc. And I do expect them to go out there and get the victory. But when I look at the both wing backs, when I look at someone like Danjuma, when I look at these kind of players, I do think to myself, these are players who sometimes you come up against teams and systems that can exploit you. And I feel like if they come up against like Girona, and Girona are really on it, and they press like an Osasuna tried to do, or they might go potentially man to man and things like that, and really try and stifle, the creative players of, of Barcelona, then I feel like this could then potentially be a problem, moving forward, in this game for Barcelona. And those are the three players that I kind of looked at. Of course, they've got other players in the team who I think can potentially affect play, but those are the three I looked at and said they operate in space. Barca leave a lot of space. They're the ones I'm going to look at, in terms of, who might potentially hurt Barcelona. Looking here, this is just my predicted lineup. Gone with Balde and Koundé on the flanks, with Kubasi coming back in, and Araujo as well coming back in. Pedri and Gavi, I've got them both in midfield. I feel like, again, I said this in the last game, in the last preview, unless Gavi's not fully fit, play the guy, man. Let me see what he can do from the start in this midfield area, though, because I felt like he was kind of, obviously we didn't have Rafinha playing. Obviously Lewandowski was on the bench. Seeing Gavi playing more out wide and stuff, I was like, no, let's keep him central. Let's keep him in that. And I feel like the reason why I really do want him here is specifically for the wing backs of Girona. I feel like he'll be able to at least slot in and help out at times when Lamine Yamal might not always going to be someone who's going to come back. I need someone else there who's going to be able to help out. I feel like Gavi can do that. I've gone with Rafinha, Lopez, and Fermin and Lamine Yamal. I did have Ferran Torres. He did score. He was a bit of a threat against Osasuna. I wouldn't mind him playing behind Lewandowski and almost setting up in a 4-4-2, if you want to call it, or 4-2-2-2, whatever you want to bloody call it, whichever one, both the same thing, really and truly. But yeah, you could do either or, to be honest with you. So I might change that potentially to seeing Ferran Torres instead. But yeah, I something was telling me, let me see what it's like if these three, Rafinha, Fermin, and Yamal, if they can just kind of see how they can try and combine, behind Lewandowski. But yeah, again, I wouldn't be too mad if you then went with Ferran Torres, or he went with, Ferran Torres instead. But as I said before, man, 3 points ahead in the league table. Hopefully, we can get this victory against Girona. I think Real Madrid might be playing on Saturday. Can't remember. I can't remember. But hopefully, listen, look, it doesn't really matter. And Barcelona can, of course, get the victory. In terms of my predicted score line, I will go with. I'll go 3-1. I'll go 3. I can't remember what I said last time. I feel like I said 3-1 last time as well against Osasuna. So I might have just been, 1 goal off. But yeah, I'll go with 3-1. I'll go with 3-1. I feel like they might score. And I feel like they could, if they do score, I feel like they score first. I feel like they would score first. And then it's about, can Barcelona come back into the game? I think it's going to be tough. I feel like it's going to be tough anyway. But listen, man, Barcelona have surprised me at times this season, even though they've been, so great. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see, man. But guys, let me know, of course, in the comment section, what is your predicted scoreline for the game? Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you guys in a bit. Boom.